We're actually learning now Daf Pei Beis, which is today's Daf, and then we'll take a pause. We'll also learn Daf Pei Gimel, which is tomorrow's Daf. So we are in the middle of the page, and we are up to here, right in the middle of the page. And we're learning the concept of kanoyin poigin boy, that sometimes you commit a sin. If there's an impulsively somebody's there and tries to stop you and kill you, that's called kanoyin poigin boy, you're allowed to. And we gave a few examples. Somebody steals clay shards, if somebody steals from the base of English one of the utensils, or if you curse, it looks like a blasphemer, or if haboil aramis, if you have relations with a non-Jewish woman. In all of those cases, the din is kanoyin poigin boy. And the Rambam Paskins and the Torah Paskins, in fact, everybody asks why in the Shulchan Aruch Even Ezer, in the final Shulchan Aruch, doesn't mention at all Kanoim Poigin Boy. The expression there is, if I remember correctly, that if someone's boiler amis and Kanoim didn't have to be Poigea, this person is going to get Karis. So, as if to say, when we say Halacha the Ein Moirin Kain, Halacha is Kanoim Poigin Boy, but we don't tell anybody, Shulchan Aruch decided not to tell anybody either. Even though when it comes to tefillin by night or other things, Shulchan Aruch says halacha ve'imorin kain, that's the halacha, but we really don't spread the word. It does mention the Shulchan Aruch, but here completely omits it. So the Taz, not the Taz, the Beis Shmuel, others want to know what's going on. Why is it missing? Anyway, so we're up to right in the middle of the page, and we learned the Rav remembered from this pasuk that Rav Kahana had a dream that you get kares. So right in the middle of the page. Now that we mentioned Abchiyah Bar Abba, and we said that if someone's boil aramis, in a way his punishment is worse. Interesting, but it says that the punishment is worse than any other arroyos. How is that? Because the children are not his. Any other arroyos, no matter what Aver he did, then the day the child is your child, even if the child of mom's it's your child. Over here, the child of a non-Jewish woman is a is not yours. Big shakla of Italian is the other way around. If it was a Yiddish woman with a goy, do we also say get karis and all these things, or just a man with a woman? Some want to say only a man, a yid with a goy, because of the fact that you lose your children, and that is the worst possible thing, that you created children that are not Jewish. I'm saying a woman, her children, even though she was with a goy, her children are Jewish, so maybe not so. Others want to disagree. Rabbi said right in the middle of the page, that pay Beis Amid Aleph. Kosav al go to Yakum. Yakum was Yakum, the son of Yahya. She was a Rasha. He gave Yirmiyah Hanavi a very difficult time, and Yirmiyah Hanavi wrote the whole Eicha there, and he got the Baruch Benir to write it out and to tell them all the warning was going to happen. And what did Yaakov do? He ripped it up, and the Abishah told him to write another one, which he wrote again. So Rabbi Barabu says, Kosev al Golgoltush Yakum. It says on the skull of Yakum, Zois v'Oid Acheres. This and another punishment. He won't be buried in a Jewish place, and his head will be thrown out. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean literally it was written on his skull. He means it's because it says Eicha twice. Yirmiyah wrote it once, and he ripped it up. He wrote it a second time, so it's like the punishment that it says in Eicha is going to happen twice because they wrote two Eichas. That's what they want to say. The case that the grandfather that prayed, which happened to be the Baravu, Ashki found who go to the skull that was lying there in the gates of the Shalayim. Habikosol, there was written there's always Oida Chedes. Cover, he went and buried it. It sprouted, it jumped out of the ground again. Covered, he buried it the second time. Ahmad, he said, Haigul Goldish Yakum must be the skull of a Yakum Amelech, the Kosev, because it's written there, Kavudas Chamor Yikver, that he will buried. He'll be buried like a donkey, and this is Jimmy writes. And they will drag him and they'll throw him outside of the gates of Shalim. That's where he found the skull. But then he said to himself, Malkud, the end of the day, he was for the Jewish king. It's too degrading to be lying there. The skull of the king of the Ishakla, he took it, he wrapped it up in silk, but the place in the box, and he put it in his house, maybe under his bed. One day, also his wife comes home. Chazisa, she sees a box with a skull inside. Now, instead of asking her husband what to explain, she went to her neighbor. Nafkit, she went to her neighbor, who's a gossiper. She told her neighbor what she discovered. Guess what the neighbor came up with? The truth of the matter is, this is your husband's first wife. He's still madly in love with her, so he kept the skull under the bed. He can't forget his first wife. So what do you think she did? She took the skull and threw it in the oven to completely destroy it, so the husband shouldn't think about his first wife. He also, when he came home and he found out what happened, he said, that's what it says. Now I understand. That not only he won't be buried, but his head will be burnt. He also he said, it's only the Bezdin Chashmonaim made a Gzeda, Habo ala Kusi. If somebody has relations with a non-Jewish woman, Chayiv Allah, Yechayiv Mishum Nashga. What's the Rosh Tevis Nashga? The Gemara will explain the next one, but the same idea. Nashga is Nun is Nida, even though by going there's no Nida, the Rabbanan, they treat it like a Nida. And Shin is Shivcha, because Yidden, they bring a possible, Yidden are the mistress, the superior, and the Goyim are the Shivcha. And here and you're not allowed to marry a Shivcha, so that's Aveiram Tum Rabbanan. Gimel is Goy, even though the Gemara uses the whole time the word Kusis because of the censor, but yet when it comes to Rosh Tevis, they hope the Goy would notice, so they put Goy, and Aleph is Ishus, if she's a married woman. So 4 Avedas Midrabbanan. Now, I told you last time, big machlekes are showing in the Rambam and others about if you marry a Goy. The Rambam holds that the Isa of Leitzis Chatten, because the Rambam in Yebar Yevamis has 2 opinions. He changed his mind. So the Rambam passed like his first opinion. That the Isa of Leitzis Chatten applies to all Goyim. And it applies to a Goy while he's a Goy. Leitzis Chatten. The other Rishonim Paskin, no. Leitzis Chatten is only limited to the 7 nations, and it's not Shaykh Chasnus to a Goy. It's talking about if one of the 7 nations of Yisrael converted, you're not allowed to marry them. And that's the Shaykh Leitzis Chatten. That's the Isser. What's the Isser of a Goy Mehat Torah? Only if it's Derech Ishus, and another pasuk. You shouldn't. What's the lesson? You should make a Kedesha. You should. Like titan, beat, all that. So that's the Isa, and that's only if you do it derech ishus and a permanent way. But if you do it not derech ishus, that is nus. They all hold it's only midrabban. So that's what's all this rabban. He also Ravi came along and said mishum nashgas. He says nashgas, and he we spell it out. Neither shivcha goya and zoyna. Machlek is the Rambam and Taisus. Taisus holds zoyna is only if you're a kohen. We can zoyna come in. The Rambam holds the Feder Zoyna is for every person. That even though for Yisrael Zoyna is not Osir, but this is what the Bezdin Shechashmonaim did. That on one night stands Osir Mitzad Zoyna with the Rabban. Avol Mishum Isha Leslie, he took off Ishus. What do you mean Isha Leslie, married woman? Idach, what's Machlei? He said there's no such thing as a married woman by a Goy. Idach, Nishai Yavadal Mavkri. So the first opinion says now that Ishus applies because it looks like Ishus, because if they get married, she's not a Zaina, she's a married woman. So it looks, so the Rabbanan Asad, you should have a relation with a married woman because it looks like, and next time you'll have a relation with the Yiddish married woman. So it's the Rabbanan. And another opinion says that no, by Goyim, that nobody's faithful, there's no fidelity, and therefore you won't make that leap from a Goyish woman to a married Yiddish woman where there is fidelity. That's how some Rishonim learn Tesla is a little bit differently. It says, but if you ask a Rob, should I be Pagaya by Ein Moyin Loy? Halacha Ein Moyin came. We don't paskin. And that's where Rosh Hashanah doesn't bring it down. Itman and Rashi says already before, it's only b'shas the chet, only b'shas the aveda you can be kanai pagim. The moment it's over, anything you bring to bezin. Big machlek is a shayne that only applies to the case of haboiler amis, or whatever all the other cases that we bring here kanai pagim, but it also apply only b'shas ma'isa. For example, he stole clay shot. It's only if you saw him stealing it. What happens while he still has it at home? Is he still kanai pagim boy, or and other things? We see clearly by a kohen in the Mishnah. We learned for kohen is neshamish and avodah in the Beis Hamikdash when he's tamei, they drag him out and the pricha couldn't be the pulp. But that's after the event, because during the event means where he is. So others want to say that's why Davke is still in the Beis Hamikdash, but in the Ezra's Noshim. Once you take it out of the walls of the Beis Hamikdash completely, then you got to do it, Bezdin, and Bezdin doesn't do anything. But you can no longer kanai paigim by. So this is Davke in the Ezra's Noshim. And their tum is only with Rabbanan, so it's much easier, and therefore that's what some say, because of that problem. Others say that no, when it comes to these three Avedas, it doesn't matter. How are you from that case? Gufa. They take him out and they beat him up. It's only by Haboil Aramis that we say B'Shas Maisa. Even have we learned, furthermore, if Peter Zimri walked away, V'harga Pinchas, and Pinchas would kill him after the event. Nehed Agolav, Pinchas would be considered a murderer. Kanoi Poigmoi has to be an immediate reaction. In fact, that's why it's called a kanoi. It sounds from here, as an unfortunate say, only a kanoi can do this. You can't deliberately, let me think about it, and then you go, you're no longer kanoi. Kanoi means you act impulsively. You don't think. This is your gut feeling. This is wrong. Can't be. Can't tolerate this, and you go ahead. Only a kanoi can do this. And if Zimri would turn around and kill Pinchas, he wouldn't get killed. This is the whole Mishnah Melech, whether if the Nirdiv turns around and kills the if the Raid was chasing after Nirdiv is being chased by another guy. If the Raid turns around and kills the other guy, he's Yichai. Because here it says clearly, if Zimri would have turned, so someone bring a nice man, Zimri would have turned around and killed Pinchas. When Pinchas, by right, has a right to kill Zimri. Yet if Zimri defended himself and killed Pinchas, Zimri would be innocent. He's killing his rights. So we don't want to learn from there. The same thing applies to if Levi is chasing Shimon to stop him from killing Reuben, and Shimon turns around and kills Levi, then Shimon is innocent. Others say you cannot compare the two cases because this has nothing to do with murder. This is to do with Boiler Ram. This is a totally different set of laws. So he's right. Moshe said Yisrael. Moshe said to the Shrek Yisrael. This is after the Bnei Shemaya when they went ahead and they were bombing down to the Avodah Zarah. The Shevet of Shimon went to Zimri because they were judging and they were killing these people one after another. Eventually 24,000. And according to that you look at all the bezins they made, so many people got killed. So I went to Zimri Ben Soli. I'm like, hey, Donny din the Foshes. They're killing us outright. You're the Nasi and you're sitting and doing nothing. Ma'as, what do you do? Ahmad, he went, he gathered 24,000 Yidden. Cosby went to Cosby Basur, who was from Midian. And Amalai said, Hashmili, listen to me. Come join me. Amalai, she said, Bas Melechani, first of all, I'm a princess. My father instructed me, like, teach me, I should only consort with the leader of the Klal Yisrael. Amalai, he said to her, Afu Nasi Shevet. First of all, I'm a leader also. I'm the Nasi of a Shevet. I'm greater than Moshe. Why? I'm from Shimon. Shimon is the second son of Yaakov. He comes from Levi, the third son. Who do you think is who's superior? I am. Obviously, she didn't really relent. He grabbed her by her hair. The Hevi to Moshe and dragged her to Moshe. And Amalei Ben Amram, Chutzpah Ben Amram, like Rashi said by Meraglim. Zu Asura Oimuteres. Am I allowed to live with her or not? Being time with Asura, and he said it's also Bas Yisra Mitila. Why let him marry the daughter of Yisra? In other words, if he was Megayah Cosby, we no Shaila anymore. Then he did nothing wrong. So obviously he was not planning to Megayah her. And he understood that Moshe lived with Tzipora before Matan Torah, and before Matan Torah is not Shaykh Geirus, because Geirus only started with Matan Torah. So what's it mean you? You live with Tzipora before there's no Geirus, and so on. And Rashi explains what he was wrong was before Matan Torah they all had a din with Ben Noach, so there was no problem. It's only after Matan Torah now that Yisrael, and everyone was Megayah, he should have been Megayah as well. But Moshe Rabbeinu didn't answer him at all. That clear from Rashi that prior to Matan Torah they're all Ben Noach and Ben Yisrael. But before Moshe didn't answer that. That didn't bother him. Yisrael Ben Halach, he didn't know how to deal with. So what did he do with Nebel Zimri? He was brazen. It was b'fehesya. When we say Haboil Aramis, Kanoim Poigba is only if it's b'fehesya. Only if it's in public. If it's in the private, you're not allowed to. It's only in public. Go cool b'chid. They all cried. Moshe didn't know what to do. What are they going to do? Behind the sea, they all crying. What do you see? Amarav Ra. A few opinions. One says, he saw what happened, then he remembered. Very interesting. The Lashon, he's talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, he called it great uncle. Where's the Derech Cheres? Couldn't find anybody saying anything, but I'm sure somebody does. Didn't you teach me privately? When you came down Hasina, when you came down Hasina, you told me personal why he gave the message to Pinchas, maybe to Hakadish or whatever, that this is what you're supposed to do. Sorry? Intimate conversation we had. Okay, very familiar. But he's in front of all the Eden, all standing and crying there, and he comes out, hey, great uncle, tell me. Tell me if that's right. Amalai said, Kaina the Igarta, the one who read the letter, he should be the one who should dispose it. Ran has a fascinating question. The Ran asks, you just said halacha the ein moedin kains. How much have been a paskin to go do it? He just told him the one who read the letter, go carry it out. That's a psak. You just said halacha the ein moedin kain. You told to Pinchas directly. Pinchas said, "This is what you told me," and Moshe said, "Go do it."
based on what you said.
So the Ram says maybe it's not a psaki. Just saying, yeah, you're right. That's what you said. That's what I told you back then, and that was before the Misa. So I'm not passing. I'm saying you're correcting what you said that I said, and he's not really he's not really passing. But anyway, according to this way, he had a discussion with Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because you're not allowed, Talmud is not allowed passing from it out. Even though L'cheda, when we learned before that if it's coming to stop someone doing Leveda, then even more can Rabbi allowed to. But that's the first opinion there. Kamal Shmuel said, no, he never had a discussion with Moshe Rabbeinu. He saw that the pasuk says there's no monkey business here. Somebody's making Chil Hashem. Rabbi Yitzchak says, he saw that a malach came and destroying the Eden. People are dying right left and center. And you got to do something about it to stem that flow. So then says, he took a sword in his hand. In the Beis Hamedrash, you don't have a knife. What Beis Hamedrash? Because it sounds like he was amongst the Sanhedrin. They were all sitting together, and it says there because Moshe Rabbeinu gathered all the Sanhedrin, and he stood up. He obviously stood up from the Sanhedrin, and the Sanhedrin is like a Beis Hamedrash because they sit and discuss Torah. You shouldn't have a knife. So everyone wonders, if I remember the Tazi, maybe. So why it says in the basic Knesset, it says you shouldn't bring a knife into a shul because this is mekatzer, this is shortens the life of a person, and davening is supposed to lengthen the life of a person. So it's wrong to have a knife. A Beis Hamedrash, generally we know, is less holy than a Beis Knesset. And it says right here, the reason why you cannot have a knife is because you learn from, it says right here, you're not allowed to have a knife in Beis Hamedrash. So every time you mice in a shul, you're not allowed to have a knife because mekatzer, Yom of Shaladam. The reason is because Kal V'Chomer from Beis Hamedrash is a pasuk. It's a clear pasuk in the Torah. Anyway. What he did was very smart. He took the blade off, so it's a long wooden handle, and then there's a blade at the end. He took the blade off and then put it in his pocket. And he walked as if he was pretending he needed the walking stick. This is walking in a stick. The Kivan Shehigia ate the Shivta Shimon when he came to the Shevah Shimon. What's this? You're keeping all the women of Moab just for yourselves when you're so greedy? And why can't I be part of it? Well, you guys are so choshev that only you can have relations with Moab women. I also want to be part of it. Amru, they said, let him in. He wants to go and do his inyanim. Itiru Purushan Adavar. If the Purushan allow it, great. It's a validation to what we're doing. 6 miracles occurred to Pinchas that day. First of all, Zimi could have just stopped. And we learned before, the moment it's over, you can't touch it. They could have all Zimi had to do is scream out. All those people were standing right outside. They would have come running in and pulled Pinchas away. He didn't. He stabbed them right where they were having their intimacy because he wanted to show everybody, I'm killing a Nasi. He was I'm doing Kanaim Plegim Boy. So the next of the knife went straight through both. They didn't slip off. After he stabbed them, they could have just slid right off, and then he would have to stand there and protest why he did. They wouldn't believe him. And they would kill him. Then when he carried the knife out, they were still hanging on the knife. He couldn't pull them out, so they lifted the malach came, lifted the threshold, the lintel, so that he can take them out. And another malach was busy killing them. They had no time to look what's going on here. He threw them before the Eibishter. So for these two people, for their misbehavior, you're killing so many countless Eden. The Magef alone killed 24,000 people, besides everything else. It says, what's why can you follow? Why you follow is davening? What's why you follow? I was argue. He was belligerent. He was arguing with Eibishter. What right do you have to kill all this Eden? Malach were very upset. How can a person talk with such chutzpah to the Eibishter? They wanted to kill. And he said, Hanichul 11b, Kanoi ben Kanoihu. He is a Kanoi, the son of a Kanoi, because Levi was a Kanoi to defend his sister, Dinah. And Meishiv Chema ben Meishiv Chema. On the other hand, no, sorry, Shimon Levi. This is Pinchas. Pinchas saying, leave Pinchas be, because Pinchas is a Kanai ben Kanai. He's a the Levi also was a Kanai to defend his honor of his sister. So now Pinchas is defending Klai Yisrael, number one. And Sveitens, his other grandfathers was Aaron, and Aaron stopped the traders. He went around and he stopped the Magefa. That was Meishav Chema. He calmed me down. Ben Meishav Chema. So Pinchas had two opposite qualities. He can calm down, pacify, and he was a zealot. As we know, the Gemara's Vach will learn. The question is being machlek. When did he become a kohen? Right away, or only after in Yeshua when he stopped the civil war? The whole story there. Because what happened was that Shevet Ephraim decided to build Menashe, and then Menashe built a mizbeach on Ever Yargi. So Eden saw that they're breaking away from us. They can have their own mishkan, and that's it. So they all gathered together, armies, and they're going to go and kill out all the 2.5 Shvatim. So Pinchas said, "Wait, let me talk to them." He went and he went over to them and he asked what happened, and they said, "We want our children to know what a mishkan is." So basically, he stopped the whole. So he stopped the whole war. So here he acted in shalom. So the Gemara says, now till then we thought just like Kanoia. Kanoia they do crazy things, but then we saw that when he needs shalom, he's shalom, and when he Kanoia, now we know that he's a leader and he tries to be a kohen. Yeah. He's chilish what him bad noises. It's poking fun as Rashi brings the chumash. Reason Ben Putti is there. You see this Ben Putti should pick them avim. Where he has this Indian of murder because his Zayda was none other than Yisrael. His Zayda was none other than the one who passionate who raised the calves for Avodah Zarah. But Harag Nasi Shevi Yisrael. That's how he had the chutzpah to kill a Nasi. Doesn't matter the Nasi did the wrong thing. The chutzpah. Well, Kasher came along the pasuk and says that Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. No. He is the son of Aaron HaKohen. I'm looking at Baruch Moshe acting like Shalom. Go ahead and call him a peacemaker. She never says, "Okay, I'm going to give him the covenant of Shalom, which is Kahuna." And this kapara that he did should serve Eden for the rest of time, which is an amazing thing. So this animal there has these loins of zarzim, or this goat, or melech and the king of Elohim is with him. The word zaz is gematria 424. Reish is 200 and 200 400 and Yud is 10. That's 410 and Zion is 14, so 424. Dalet, look at this, incredible numbers there. Even if it's just the exaggeration, it's still we have a thing called Lashon Guzma, but it gives an idea what happened. Daled meyes ve'esim va'aba be'ilas bol oisa rosh oisa yen. Cosby and Zimri, 424 times they had tashbis around that one day. The himtel at Pinchas, and Pinchas is waiting, had so much strength, so much energy. He had his loins, they girded that he was so strong. He let him, because every time he had tashbis, he got weaker and weaker and weaker. But he was so strong, and Pinchas wanted to kill them. So he had to wait until Zimri became weaker and weaker. When he did he knew that he didn't realize he didn't have to wait because the Abish was going to be with him, helping him kill Zimri. See, time we learned Shishim 60 times. Not 424. It was 60 times the had Tashmish. Ad Shanase Kibeya Hamuzeres. The word Zaze, you said before 424. Zaze means like scrambled eggs. It became so mushy. She had so much semen inside her, she gave him like a vat full of water. Suddenly she became her behind became the size of a beisah, 50 amas by 50 amas. In other words, she's makabel, everything that he did. Her entrance was the size of an amma. After 424 times or 60 times. Amar Avshaitis. You should know like Cosby. Her name is not Cosby. Ella Shivilnoi Bas Surshma. Her name was Shivilnoi. Cosby. So why do we call Cosby? She Cosmovia. She denied her father. Father said only to the head leader, and she went to number 2. To Nasi of Shavit. Cosby Shamla. Cosby. He said, Cosby, let me be the distraction, or let me be the one that will chew up the Klai Yisrael. Let me be the catalyst to destroy the Eden. So no Rachmanis on her. She was an anti-Semite. I don't mean she benkani lo urban. She learned my boy between the reeds. She went to this private place out in the swamps that nobody's around. And what do you go there for? To mate with a single person? What's she doing there? The kalfi the kanish learned my boy. What's she doing with the peeled reeds where nobody goes? What's she doing there alone with Zimri? Gaftal that she became and Gaftal Lima. And because of her, everyone's going to go around gossiping that her mother must have been a Zayn as well. if she could be this way, where does a girl become this way? Obviously from her mother. He had 5 names: Zimri, Uben Soloi, Shaul, Uben Akananis, Ushlamil ben Tzuri Shadai. Shlamil Tzuri Shadai is the Nasi we had in Chumash. Zimri al Shanasis Kebei Muzeres. Zimri is not his real name. Is Zimri because of what happened with his attachment that I had with her. Ben Soloi al Shehisli Avoinu Shomashpachti. Got everyone talking about what kind of family he comes from. Shaul al Shehishal Adi he devoted himself to do an Aveda. Ben Aknanis al Sheosa Maisi Kanan. He behaved like the Goyim. Mashma, his real name is Shlomil ben Tzudi Shada Shmai. He was one of the Nasim. So what was going through his head? Obviously, he was a tzaddik. He was chosen by Moshe Rabbeinu. He must have been somebody special. So what was going through his head? I mean, if you know that Dushan Vavidam, they Tzaddik HaKohen finds all kinds of wonderful things about him. In fact, it says that it says an unbelievable medrash that Dushan Vavidam didn't leave Mitzrayim, and then afterwards they decided to leave Mitzrayim. The Eibush made a second Kiddush Yamsuf, so Dushan Vavidam can cross. So Tzaddik HaKohen writes all these things that really with tzaddikim, and it had to be a nemesis of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he gives all these things. But how do you explain this? Even in that, fighting a positive. Anyway, the Mishnah continues. Koyin sheshim betumah, boy minei lavach, but women of sheshes. Koyin sheshim betumah. Koyin is serving the base of betumah. Chayiv misa is chayiv misa. If he's serving the betumah, chayiv misa b'dei shemaim, chayiv misa shemaim. You told me for koyin sheshim betumah, the goyim come. The pichei kuna come along. The youngsters under 20 years old or others under 13, they beat them up because they can't serve the base of mikdash. We don't care if they become tamei. But what have they don't? Is a misa b'dei shemaim for that activity now? Amalei said to him, Kinesua. We learned the only time we say Kanoim Poigin Boy is that if, let's say, he deserves Misa, like he deserves Chorus, Haboyas Aramis, we asked Rab, what's the punishment? He said Chorus. Since he gets Chorus anyway, so we brought it forward a little bit. And therefore you Kanoim Poigin Boy. But if you're going to tell me he's not Chai Misa at all, Chorus or Misa Shemayim, then you have no right to Poigin Boy. So it must be that he has Misa Shemayim. That's what we're asking. That's what we're thinking. He said to the they beat him up. If you can tell me, so Rav Sheshes, however, disagrees with what I just told you. Rav Sheshes wants to say that if he take a chayiv misnei shemayim l'shavkei the likta b'nei shemayim, let him wait. Which I don't understand because the Gemara before said that you're chayiv chorus, and the only thing is you'll get killed in a few years' time. So let's do it earlier. And here he's saying, if you're going to get killed anyway, why do it? I hope Puk gets one. If you're Chayiv Misa, then don't kill. Then you shouldn't be Kanoim Poigim Boy. It's only if you're not Chayiv Misa, then Kanoim Poigim Boy. Because if you can be Chayiv Misa, wait. Let Dave should take care of it when he's ready. That's his word. So he said, therefore, he must say they're not Chayiv Misa. Ready to get more. What are you talking about? Can't be the if he's not Chayiv Misa, what right do we have to kill him? Someone asked back, what do you mean? Why not? Why can't it be we kill him even though he's not Chayiv Misa? But now we learn Misha Lokah V'Shana. We learned yesterday if somebody commits the same Aveda of Karis 2 times, and then he didn't Aveda, we gave him Malchus. We didn't Aveda again. That's Chayiv Karis. And he didn't give him Malchus the same Aveda twice. The 3rd time we put him in jail and we make sure he dies. We feed him less and less and less, and then we give him a lot of food, and then he dies from that. So now the trader says he's only Chayiv Malchus. But non-Catholic, we killed him. So he says, how much Malchus? Then the Shlaka say, because in the beginning we thought you were talking about any of it, you ate treif. The 3rd time we just said we put you in that pen and kill you. So we said, no, only in Malchus they're going to get killed anyway. Only then do we have a right to kill you. Must be there's a chiluk between Karis and Misha Deshamayim. Like Karis, which is 50 years old, which is not so far away, so therefore the Gemara says we bring it forward. But Misa Shemai is 60 to 70, it's much further away than maybe we have no right to bring it forward. Basically, we're killing a guy's whole life. A person lives till 70, and Misa Shemai can be from 60 till 70, and that's one of the reasons why you make a big birthday party at 70, because you finish Misa Shemai, Misa of the years, and Misa of Yomi. The Gemara says in my cotton. So therefore, Misa Shemai, Rav Shesha says. We wouldn't have killed him with this Chai Misnei Shemayim. So the Gemara says, the Galbak told us, no right from there. We don't agree with Sheish. We hold only if you Chai Misnei, we kill you early. Remember, going there was a castle, in the case he's stealing clay sharis. He's stealing clay sharis. I said, right now we don't know what castle is. It says he going to castle, can I kill him? And we see that, you're not Chai Misnei yet, we'll let it kill you. So Gemara said again, no. That it's talking about Beklei Shabbos, and there with the Misa we found a pasuk like Yavai Lilas Kabbalah Goyimation. The pasuk literally is talking about that the Levim shouldn't see the Kalim. That's why they cover the Kalim. But Kabbalah also means stealing, swallowing it up, and we learn that from there. Kabbalah Goyimation that if you steal the Klei Shabbos, you get killed. So there was a Chayim Misa Shemayim, and that's why. So we believe, not like Rav Sheish, that the only time that Kanoim Pagim by Chayim Misa Shemayim. What about the case where the sorcerer curses? There's no Misa involved, and yet Kanoim Pagim by. What are we talking about? Hatan Rabbi Yosef, he says, Yakid Kaisim as Kusamai. Now let the sorcerer kill the one who gave him the powers to be a sorcerer. It's almost like a blasphemer. The Mezek of Hashem, it looks like it. What about Boilat Amis? There's no Mis over there, and yet the Kanoim Pagim Boy. What are you talking about? How Kadrul of Kahana, we learned before Rav Kahana had a dream, the Chalmei, and he brought the pasuk with Adkid Avagam Gemara. I remember the pasuk, Yachid Hashem. There is chorus there. So we didn't get this proved. Rav Sheish said, can't be has misa, otherwise why can I pay him? How about more now? We'll just prove it. If someone goes ahead and he smears the oil on the cod mincha, or a boiler, he mixes it up, I pay he cut the mincha after it's baked, or he put salt on it. I mean, if you wave it, if you bring it close to a masadas, you organize the table, you clean the little licht. The menorah, if you give kimitz, in all these cases, you are potter. The ain chayev, and you're potter. Why are you potter? Because you're only chayev for chutz. If you shecht outside, you sprinkle the blood outside, or you bring it potatoes. For all these other activities you do in chutz, there's no chayev. Now we're going to lead the Braisa into clearly telling us what's the din regarding a kohen who works in the Beis Hamikdash when they are tamei. If let's say a zar did any one of these, see the din is we're learning any activity that has other activities following that is not called an avodah tama, complete avodah. You don't get punished. When you get punished, all of these things here, if you did a complete avodah would be like shchita. That's it. Once you shech, there's nothing else to do with as far as shchita is concerned. And let's say you're carrying it, you have to then bring it to the Rebbe, you have to sprinkle it. It's more avodas. That's not called an avodah tama. So all of these avodas have things going afterwards. By mincha, you still have to put on the mizbeach to burn it. So therefore, what you did now. So for example, you're not chai if you're a zar. If you're a Yisrael, these avodah, you shouldn't. Of course, it's not Ada, but you don't get killed for it because any of these activities are only half jobs. It says clearly here, if a kohen was tamei and did one of these avodas, you don't get killed. But the other ones, the other ones, you do get killed. Where's your right? Yeah. The lay mishum begud. We're going to go through each one of these. By the way, in the Gemara. That's what the Gemara, tomorrow's Gemara, which is a pasuk for each one of these things. That it's also the question of whether you get killed or not. If a kohen is missing his begadim, we learned this parsha yesterday that you have to have all the begadim. Only time you chayv is for those three avodas, not all these other ones. Not if he didn't wash his hands. And a mechus begadim is considered as if he's a zor, because a kohen without clothes is like Yisrael. A kohen who is tummy is like Yisrael because he doesn't have the right to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. And we'll see later how we learn all these things out from Psukim, from Shabbat. But if he would have gone there and put it in his mizbeach or one of these activities, he would be chayv. My love, misa. Clearly, we see that a kohen that serves in the Beis Hamikdash gets misa. Kohen tummy that gets misa. That was the question we asked before, and that's a kasha of Sheshes. He says no, he's no misa, but I cannot pay him. So clearly, that says misa. He said no, labdavke. Maybe all it means here is that all of these are Avedas. Who says that you get a punishment? Your question to me now was if a kohen shishim is tummy if he's not Aveda. Of course, it's not Aveda. You asked if he gets misa, and I said no, and that's why Kanoim paying by. So the Gemara. So you're telling me the whole passage is talking about only warning. So Zor Nami La Zor. So you tell me a Zor also is only a warning. There's no Misa. But Ksiva says Zor Akar of Yom Yisrael does a certain Avedis he gets Misa. So Gemara says Hakid Isa, Bahakid Isa. Each one is all it is an Avera. But what the punishment is depends on the Psukim where it talks about that Avera. So no Raif me that a Koyin that was Tameh Sheshim is just Chai Misa. So the Gemara Miklal the Yait. From here we see clearly the Yaitzik will boil nami. If you're telling me that this whole Bryce is talking about whether there's a lav or not, and he's telling you that when it comes to Tumah, you don't get punished, So what is it according to Shemis? Only a lab. And the Brisa tell you that when do you get a lab? According to something about a lab, when do you get a lab is only the three main activities. All these other activities you don't get what. So by Zodas mean you don't get killed, but still also. If so, but you're telling me that by Kohen Tamish Shemis is only a lab. So if it's only these three avodas, I mean if a Kohen Tamish Meshamish, all these other things draws the blood, not even an aveda. Is that what Pshat is? Oh boy, lav nami loy. What time we learned I was harder liyotzig boil menayim, but finish it's a lav for a kohen tummy to go ahead and do even these activities that are partial activities. Tabalayim kedosh yiyu lo yechalu. So that's not a kasha. But the Rabbanan, of course, Mach Mama, the Shesha will say no. That those taka a kohen tummy does the is only midrabanan and the pasuk Mach Mama. But I hold that a kohen tummy shimish does not get misa, and that is why the kohen pichikuna beat him up. The Gemara makes on a question. Hey, well, hey, misa. The following it misa tomesha shimish says clearly in the brisa, and that's what the Margim was all about. To quote the whole brisa that a tomei that worked in the base of English, even these main three avodas is gets misa. Klar gets misa, not the Rav Sheshes. In that case, Rav Sheshes is repudiated.